First, Marie Windsor. Marie Windsor was more than just a beguiling presence on the silver screen. She was an actress who carried her faith like an anchor in a stormy sea. Born in 1919 in Marysville, Utah, she was raised in a devout Mormon household that prized discipline, integrity, and an unshakable moral center. Those values, instilled from an early age, stood in sharp contrast to the roles she would eventually take on in Hollywood's film, noir, and westerns, genres that often reveled in grit, danger, and moral ambiguity. Dubbed the Queen of the Bees for her unforgettable turns in low-budget but high-intensity productions, Windsor had a magnetic on-screen presence. She could captivate audiences with a single sultry glance, playing femme fatales who manipulated, schemed, and ensnared male protagonists with alarming ease. Yet, once the cameras stopped rolling, she reverted to the poised, thoughtful woman whose religious upbringing informed every part of her off-screen life. In an era when Hollywood was rife with scandal and sensationalism, Windsor's personal life remained a beacon of relative calm. Rather than chasing tabloid headlines, she channeled her energies into humanitarian work and participated in LDS church activities whenever her schedule allowed. Colleagues often remarked that she displayed none of the haughtiness one might expect from a sultry star. Instead, she was approachable, courteous, and genuinely kind. Second, Lorraine Day. Lorraine Day, sometimes referred to as the First Lady of Baseball, due to her marriage to legendary manager Leo Durocher, was born in Roosevelt, Utah, in 1920. Raised in a devout Mormon family, her wholesome demeanor and radiant smile became her trademark. While many Hollywood starlets dreamed of escaping small-town roots, Day carried her heritage proudly, forging a reputation as one of Tinseltown's most principled actresses. Her breakout came in the late 1930s, and by the 1940s, she was a well-known name in films like Foreign Correspondent and The High and the Mighty. Often cast as the virtuous and steadfast woman, Day brought an air of sincerity to her roles that mirrored her real-life values. Still, the moral challenges of Hollywood were never far from reach. The industry in which she worked was known for testing convictions. Yet Day's commitment to her LDS beliefs provided her with a kind of moral scaffolding that helped her say no to parts or behaviors she found objectionable. Her marriage to Leo Durocher in 1947 generated controversy within her faith community. Durocher, a larger-than-life figure in baseball, was not a Mormon, and their relationship played out beneath the glare of the public eye. Yet Day never wavered, meeting skepticism with compassion, and eventually finding ways to harmonize her personal life with her religious convictions. Their relationship also introduced her to a different world, where she became both a supportive wife and an unofficial spokeswoman for dignity and kindness. Third, Dean Jagger. Dean Jagger's transition from Hollywood royalty to devout church member is one of quiet conviction and profound self-reflection. Born in 1903 in Columbus Grove, Ohio, Jagger grew up in a modest setting that emphasized strong morals, though not specifically Mormon teachings. His road to the LDS Church came later in life, catalyzed by his marriage to an active Latter-day Saint. Jagger achieved cinematic renown with his dignified presence and calm demeanor, earning an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role in 12 O'Clock High. Despite his professional triumphs, he found Hollywood's glitz unsatisfying. His private life carried a sense of seeking. When he began exploring his wife's faith, Jagger discovered principles that resonated: the eternal nature of family bonds, the importance of daily accountability, and the melding of individual growth with community service. In an industry that often prioritizes ego, he found refreshment in the Mormon emphasis on humility and collective well-being. Many who knew him late in life recalled a man who spoke passionately about spiritual subjects, eager to share how his conversion reoriented his life goals. 4. Frank Borzage. Frank Borzage was one of Hollywood's earliest visionary directors, earning 2 Academy Awards for Best Director in the late 1920s and early 1930s, first for Seventh Heaven and again for Bad Girl. Born in 1894 in Salt Lake City, Utah, he hailed from a family of Swiss and Italian descent, with some biographical accounts suggesting a Mormon heritage on one side. Though details about his family's exact affiliation are mixed, Borzage's cinematic oeuvre offers glimpses of spiritual depth that may well have been nurtured by LDS cultural influences. Known for romances that transcended mere sentimentality, Borzage's films explored love as a powerful, redemptive force capable of withstanding war, poverty, or societal judgment. His camera often lingered on tender gestures, imbuing them with a near, sacred aura. Critics have long noted how his stories exude a warm, humanistic faith in the resilience of the human spirit, a perspective that resonates with many religious teachings, including latter-day saint doctrines of hope, compassion, and eternal progression. In an era when Hollywood's moral code was still in flux, Borzage dared to portray genuine intimacy and emotional vulnerability, yet he did so without descending into exploitation. His characters typically faced moral dilemmas that showcased the transforming power of loyalty and sacrifice. This thematic focus on love's ability to triumph over adversity aligns with the Mormon emphasis on family unity and enduring devotion. Femte Gordon Jump. Gordon Jump might not have topped the billboards of Hollywood's golden age, but he left an indelible mark on television history. Born in Dayton, Ohio, in 1932, Jump's life took a pivotal turn when he converted to Mormonism in young adulthood. The unassuming nature of his on-screen persona mirrored his real-life humility, much of which he credited to the discipline and spiritual grounding that came from his newfound faith. His best-known role as Arthur Carlson, the well-meaning if slightly bumbling station manager on WKRP in Cincinnati, showcased his comedic timing and innate warmth. The character was both likable and fallible, and Jump made Carlson feel like the boss you'd want to share a laugh with after work. Yet behind the laughter on set, Jump was profoundly serious about staying true to his principles. He found Hollywood to be an environment that tested even the strongest convictions, rife with temptations and moral gray areas. Rather than chastising the industry, Jump sought to set an example. He actively served in leadership capacities within his local LDS congregations, never shying away from duties that required his time and attention. When it came to acting opportunities, he turned down roles that contradicted his moral framework, opting to preserve his integrity above collecting a quick paycheck. Some might argue that this stance limited his career growth, but Jump never regretted it. For him, success was about more than just fame. It was about maintaining a sense of peace between who he was on the inside and what he portrayed to the world. Sext, Merlin Olsen. Merlin Olsen was a giant in more ways than one. Born in 1940 in Logan, Utah, he grew up in a close-knit Mormon household where faith, discipline, and service were everyday virtues. Standing at an imposing 6 feet 5 inches tall, Olsen first gained national attention on the football field, anchoring the formidable fearsome foursome defensive line for the Los Angeles Rams. While physical dominance defined his game, quiet humility defined his character. His achievements in the NFL were legion. He was a 14-time Pro Bowl selection and is widely considered one of the best defensive linemen in the history of the sport. Yet amid the roar of stadium crowds and the intense scrutiny of professional athletics, Olsen remained a man grounded in his LDS beliefs. He often cited his faith as a compass that guided him through the temptations and excesses that sometimes accompanied fame. In a hyper-competitive environment, his teammates and coaches alike admired him for his consistent kindness and ethical approach, traits he attributed to his Mormon upbringing. After retiring from football, Olsen made a successful transition to broadcasting, becoming a familiar face and voice on NFL telecasts. He also took a detour into acting, most notably as Jonathan Garvey in Little House on the Prairie, and in his own show, Father Murphy. In each endeavor, he exuded a calmness and dignity that set him apart. 7th, James Stewart. James "Jimmy" Stewart is generally revered as one of America's greatest film actors, celebrated for classics like It's a Wonderful Life and Rear Window. Though not officially a Mormon, Stewart had a notable connection to the faith through his wife, Gloria Estefan, who had LDS relatives. This tie, while tangential, brought him into occasional contact with Mormon ideals and practices. Born in 1908 in Pennsylvania, Stewart's upbringing was rooted in Presbyterian values. He cultivated a persona of integrity and forthrightness that resonated deeply with audiences, whether he was playing the earnest everyman or the conflicted hero. When he married Gloria in 1949, he found himself extending that same open-minded courtesy to her family and their Mormon heritage, even if he did not formally adopt their beliefs. Stewart's professional life soared. He earned an Academy Award for The Philadelphia Story and accolades for a wide range of roles. Yet the hallmarks of his persona, humility, decency, and self-discipline, mirrored qualities that many associated with traditional Mormon values. Although he never claimed membership in the LDS Church, his personal conduct reflected a respect for family unity and moral rectitude that occasionally earned him admiration from LDS observers. 8th, Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway's angular features and commanding screen presence catapulted her to stardom in the 1960s, with films like Bonnie and Clyde and Chinatown. Yet swirling rumors once suggested an early life connection to Mormonism, making her another intriguing figure in the conversation about Hollywood and LDS ties. Born in 1941 in Florida, Dunaway was raised primarily in a conservative Roman Catholic household, but for a brief period, there were claims she attended LDS services with extended family friends. What's certain is that Dunaway's illustrious career was marked by a fierce independence and an unwavering commitment to her craft. She portrayed strong, complicated women who were often entangled in moral dilemmas. Off-screen, however, she projected an air of sophistication and mystery, notoriously protective of her personal life. The rumored brush with Mormonism, whether fleeting or more substantial than the public realized, never fully manifested in a public embrace of LDS beliefs. Still, speculation persisted among fans and certain biographers. Some claimed that early in her career, she sought a spiritual anchor to help her navigate the competitive and often morally ambiguous corridors of Hollywood. But Dunaway herself rarely addressed these stories directly, leaving them to swirl as part of the broader mythology surrounding her. Nyalati Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck may be more widely recognized as a polarizing political commentator than as a Hollywood figure, but his forays into media and entertainment place him in a broader sphere of celebrity. Born in 1964 in Everett, Washington, Beck confronted personal tragedies early in life, which drove him to search for a spiritual anchor. In the early 1990s, that search led him to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Converting to Mormonism was a turning point in Beck's life. He credits his faith with helping him overcome issues such as substance abuse, instilling a newfound sense of responsibility and hope. While he never became a traditional Hollywood actor, Beck carved out a presence in the entertainment industry through various talk shows and media productions. These ventures often showcased his theatrical flair, on-air monologues that combined history, faith, and political commentary into a form of performance art. Critics and fans alike note that Beck's LDS beliefs influenced his broader worldview, particularly his emphasis on family values, moral accountability, and community support. He frequently references scriptural passages and religious teachings, weaving them into his public commentary. While his outspoken style and sometimes incendiary rhetoric have drawn controversy, Beck maintains that his faith compels him to speak what he sees as truth, even if it polarizes audiences. 10th, Paul Walker. Paul Walker's sun-kissed looks and easygoing charm made him a standout star of the Fast and Furious film franchise. Born in 1973 in Glendale, California, Walker was raised in a household with Mormon roots. While he eventually stepped away from active participation in the LDS Church, he nonetheless carried forward many of its principles: family, responsibility, compassion, as guiding lights in his life. His breakout role in The Fast and the Furious catapulted him to international fame, solidifying his reputation as the quintessential surfer-turned-actor. Walker's brand was that of the everyday nice guy, a persona that fit smoothly into both his off-screen relationships and philanthropic passions. Even though he was no longer an active Mormon, the vestiges of that upbringing could be seen in his interpersonal style. He shunned the elitism sometimes associated with Hollywood, preferring down-to-earth conversations and building genuine connections wherever he went. One of Walker's enduring legacies is his humanitarian work. He founded Reach Out Worldwide, a disaster relief organization, after witnessing the devastation of the 2010 Haiti earthquake. The ethos behind it, swift, targeted relief for those in critical need, mirrored the emphasis on service he grew up with, even if his formal ties to the LDS Church had loosened. 11. Eliza Dushku. Eliza Dushku wasn't the typical Hollywood ingenue. Born in 1980 and raised in Watertown, Massachusetts, she had Mormon ties through her father's side of the family. Dushku's mother was Catholic, and her childhood was marked by a tapestry of spiritual and cultural influences. While her engagement with the LDS Church waned as she grew older, the moral lessons from that part of her family background left a subtle yet discernible mark on her worldview. She burst onto the acting scene in films like Bring It On and TV series like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, commanding attention with her edgy persona and athletic performances. Dushku's characters often exuded a rebellious streak, contrasting sharply with the conventional image of a devout Latter-day Saint. Still, the actress has spoken in interview about cherishing certain elements of her Mormon heritage, particularly the emphasis on family solidarity and service to others. As her career gained momentum, Dushku found herself navigating the complexities of early fame. Child stardom, especially for someone who grew up with religious teachings that highlighted modesty and moral caution, can be disorienting. Yet she deftly balanced her public image with an off-screen dedication to philanthropy. She became a vocal advocate for substance abuse, rehabilitation, and supported a variety of youth programs. 12. Matthew Modine. Matthew Modine, born in 1959 in Loma Linda, California, was raised in a family that had embraced Mormonism at one point. While he often describes his upbringing as peripatetic, moving frequently due to his father's job, Modine found certain consistencies in the moral teachings he encountered through LDS practices. Those early lessons in community, compassion, and health consciousness would linger, even if his own spiritual path diverged as he grew older. As an actor, Modine broke into the spotlight with roles in films like Full Metal Jacket and Vision Quest. Known for his thoughtful approach to characters, he frequently gravitated toward roles that demanded emotional range or social commentary. Beneath the surface of his filmography, one can detect a curiosity about the human condition, a curiosity that might be traced back to a childhood with religious undertones, where big questions about purpose and morality were always on the table. Though Modine does not publicly identify as a practicing Mormon, he has spoken warmly about the sense of community and family that religious backgrounds can foster. That openness contrasts with the more jaded perspective some Hollywood veterans adopt, suggesting a man who recognizes the good in multiple belief systems, including the one he briefly experienced growing up. Tretonde John Heder. John Heder's portrayal of the offbeat, moon boot-wearing teenager in Napoleon Dynamite, 2004, became an instant cult classic. The film's success catapulted him from relative obscurity into the comedic limelight. Born in 1977 in Fort Collins, Colorado, Heder was raised in a devout Mormon family, eventually serving as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Japan before launching his acting career. What makes Heder's story compelling is the juxtaposition of his quirky comedic style with the traditional values of his faith. After the runaway success of Napoleon Dynamite, Hollywood beckoned with lucrative offers. Yet Heder approached these opportunities thoughtfully, mindful of avoiding explicit content that conflicted with his beliefs. This sometimes meant turning down projects or requesting script modifications, a stance that might limit some career paths but preserved his personal sense of integrity. Heder's faith also shaped his public persona. He comes across as approachable, self-deprecating, and almost unassuming, a departure from the brashness associated with many comedic personalities. He has also lent his voice to several faith-based or family-friendly projects, finding a niche where entertainment and moral content can coexist comfortably. 14. Aaron Eckhart. Aaron Eckhart burst onto the film scene with his role in the Company of Men, 1997, portraying a deeply unsettling character that left audiences simultaneously enthralled and horrified. Born in 1968 in Cupertino, California, Eckhart spent part of his childhood abroad, including time in England. Raised in a Mormon household, he was baptized as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, although he later described himself as a self-declared bad Mormon, for not strictly adhering to all the faith's tenets. Despite his more relaxed approach to religious practice, Eckhart's upbringing left an indelible impression. His strong work ethic, sense of discipline, and thoughtful approach to complex roles reflect a moral core shaped in part by his LDS background. His breakout roles in films like Aaron Brockovich and The Dark Knight often cast him in morally intricate narratives that examine the gray areas of human behavior, territory that resonates with a man who grew up contemplating the boundaries of right and wrong. Eckhart has spoken about how the international moves in his youth broadened his worldview. Still, whether studying abroad or filming on location, the community spirit he experienced in Mormon congregations fostered in him an appreciation for fellowship and service. Even if he no longer actively practices, hints of that moral clarity emerge in his career choices, as he gravitates toward stories that question integrity, redemption, and personal responsibility. 15. Amy Adams. Amy Adams dazzles viewers with her seemingly effortless ability to switch between comedic and dramatic roles, from Enchanted to American Hustle to Arrival. Born in 1974 in Vicenza, Italy, to American parents, Adams grew up in a large family that was part of the LDS Church, although she has described herself as having a less traditional upbringing in Colorado after her parents' divorce. Her decision to move away from the LDS faith came in her teenage years, fueled by personal questions and the complexities of adolescence. Still, Adams retains a respect for the moral bedrock that Mormon teachings often provide, especially when it comes to kindness and community. That sense of compassion shines through in her public life, where she often comes across as humble and approachable, traits she attributes in part to her early experiences with church culture. In Hollywood, Adams has become synonymous with versatility and grace. She's earned multiple Academy Award nominations, consistently praised for breathing warmth into complex characters. Whether portraying a hopeful Disney princess or a steely journalist seeking truth, Adams brings an authenticity that has become her hallmark. Some commentators suggest that her knack for sincerity could be linked to those early lessons in earnestness, acceptance, and moral clarity. 16. Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling's piercing gaze and understated cool have made him one of Hollywood's most sought-after leading men, drawing acclaim for roles in La La Land, Drive, and The Notebook. Born in 1980 in London, Ontario, Canada, Gosling was raised in a Mormon family that briefly shaped his early worldview. As he approached adolescence, the family's adherence to the faith shifted, and Gosling eventually charted his own spiritual course. Yet the self-discipline, empathy, and respect he learned in those formative years linger in subtle ways. He first caught public attention as a cast member on the Mickey Mouse Club alongside future superstars like Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears. Even as a child star, Gosling exhibited an intense focus that belied his age, an inner drive that some attribute to early religious teachings about purpose and diligence. While he does not practice Mormonism today, the communal ideals he encountered have shown up in his preference for collaborative projects, whether in music ventures like Dead Man's Bones or the behind-the-scenes camaraderie he fosters on film sets. Gosling's career has been marked by roles that explore humanity's softer, more vulnerable angles. He's drawn praise for infusing even the toughest characters with emotional depth, an empathy that resonates with the compassion-themed lessons found in many faith traditions, including Mormonism. Outside of acting, Gosling is known for his low-key charity work. He has supported causes such as PETA and the Enough Project, focusing on peace and humanitarian efforts around the globe. 17th, David Archuleta. David Archuleta captured America's heart at just 17 years old, appearing on American Idol in 2008 and astonishing viewers with his angelic voice. Born in 1990 in Miami, Florida, Archuleta was raised in a devout Mormon household, a background that would shape his outlook on life and his career long after the final notes were sung. His unwavering politeness, humility, and sincerity became as much a part of his brand as his vocal prowess. Even after American Idol, where he finished as runner-up, Archuleta released successful albums that consistently showcased uplifting and family-friendly themes. His faith remained a cornerstone. After experiencing the rigors of instant fame, he took a hiatus to serve a 2-year full-time mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Chile. Many in the entertainment world were baffled by the choice, but Archuleta described it as a deeply personal decision, rooted in gratitude and a desire to serve. This missionary period proved transformative. He returned with a deeper sense of self and a resolve to be authentic in his music. Over time, Archuleta has spoken candidly about the challenges of balancing faith, personal identity, and a fast-paced show business environment. Yet he continuously weaves messages of hope and kindness into his work, connecting with fans on a level that transcends mere entertainment. 18. Danny Ainge. Though known predominantly for his achievements on the basketball court, both as a player and as an executive, Danny Ainge also made occasional forays into the entertainment world, appearing in promotional and sports-related TV segments that showcased his vibrant personality. Born in 1959 in Eugene, Oregon, Ainge was raised in a devout Mormon household that emphasized discipline, teamwork, and dedication. Ainge excelled in multiple sports during high school, even playing professional baseball briefly before committing fully to basketball. His time with the Boston Celtics in the 1980s earned him 2 NBA championships, and his fiery spirit on the court became legendary. Yet off the court, he credited Mormon teachings for keeping him focused on family and service. While many pro athletes found themselves lured by extravagance, Ainge maintained a balanced perspective, grounded in a faith that encouraged humility. Outside of sports, Ainge dabbled in media appearances. His charismatic style resonated with fans who appreciated his competitive grit and genuine warmth. Whether in a locker room interview or a TV cameo, Ainge exhibited traits of leadership, fairness, and moral conviction. 19th Orson Scott Card. While Orson Scott Card is primarily celebrated as a science fiction writer, penning classics like Ender's Game, his influence on Hollywood is undeniable, given the adaptations of his works and his occasional screenwriting endeavors. Born in 1951 in Richland, Washington, Card was raised in a devout Mormon family, a background that profoundly influenced the moral and philosophical threads in his fiction. From a young age, Card displayed an aptitude for storytelling, weaving tales that often wrestled with ethical questions: the price of power, the nature of empathy, and the responsibilities of leadership. The LDS emphasis on moral choice and the eternal consequences of actions found fertile ground in Card's narratives, making them resonate with readers far beyond Mormon circles. His novel Ender's Game, published in 1985, became a phenomenon that later spawned a film adaptation in 2013. While Card's direct involvement in the film was sometimes controversial due to his outspoken personal views, there's no denying that his storytelling tackled moral complexities in a way few science fiction authors do. Whether exploring the moral quandaries of warfare or the role of compassion in leadership, Card's works often mirrored the introspection and moral seriousness characteristic of his faith tradition. 20th, Philo T. Farnsworth. Philo T. Farnsworth wasn't a Hollywood actor or director, but his invention of electronic television forever changed the way the world consumes entertainment. Born in 1906 in Beaver, Utah, and raised in a devout Mormon household, Farnsworth epitomized the innovative spirit of those who see technology as a way to uplift and enlighten humanity. His moment of inspiration reportedly came as a teenager, scribbling his idea for an all-electronic television system on a blackboard. At the time, mechanical systems were the dominant approach, and few thought Farnsworth's vision feasible. But buoyed by a relentless curiosity and a faith that taught him the value of perseverance, he pressed forward. By the late 1920s, Farnsworth had successfully transmitted the first electronic television image, but it was a breakthrough that heralded a new age. Legal disputes with corporate behemoths like RCA marred Farnsworth's journey. He spent years and a small fortune fighting for recognition of his patents. Throughout these trials, Farnsworth leaned on the support of his wife, Elma Pem Farnsworth, who was intimately involved in his research. Their union, rooted in shared faith, became an anchor in a turbulent sea of litigation and scientific hurdles. 21st, Robert Redford. Robert Redford is synonymous with rugged good looks, independent filmmaking, and environmental advocacy. Born in 1936 in Santa Monica, California, Redford had a family background intertwined with Mormon cultural influences, though he wasn't raised strictly in the LDS faith. A complicated blend of personal exploration Rebelliousness and curiosity shaped his early life, leading him to question conventional religious structures. As Redford developed his passion for the arts, he drifted from any formal religious practice. He studied painting in Europe before turning to acting, eventually skyrocketing to stardom in films like Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid and The Sting. Despite or perhaps because of his sometimes wayward youth, he embraced a path that combined self-expression with social consciousness. Though Redford's ties to Mormonism were distant, he was exposed to its ethos of communal responsibility, industriousness, and an appreciation for nature, values that manifested in his founding of the Sundance Institute and Film Festival. Sundance became more than a festival. It was a movement advocating for independent voices and social commentary in cinema. Some observers have likened this altruistic approach to the spirit of cooperation and mentorship found in LDS culture. 22nd, Jewel Kilcher. Jewel Kilcher, known to the world simply as Jewel, rose to prominence in the mid-1990s with her poetic brand of folk pop music. Born in 1974 in Payson, Utah, into a family with Mormon roots, Jewel spent her early childhood in Alaska, under conditions that tested her resilience. At times, living without indoor plumbing. The rugged environment, combined with a faith-informed emphasis on self-reliance, set the stage for her fierce independence and introspective artistry. Her debut album, Pieces of You, touched on themes of love, spirituality, and personal growth, showcasing a raw vulnerability that resonated with millions. Although Jewel stepped away from formal Mormon practice, she spoke fondly of how certain LDS values influenced both her worldview and her songwriting. Lyrics that celebrate the perseverance of the human spirit echo universal religious teachings, including those she encountered in her youth. Over the years, Jewel branched out into acting, appearing in films and television shows that showcased her knack for earnest, emotionally rich performances. She even authored books of poetry and memoir, further revealing the contemplative side of her character. These creative expressions often hinged on the virtues of honesty, redemption, and self-awareness. 23rd, Christie Brinkley. Christie Brinkley's sunny smile and all-American appeal graced the covers of magazines for decades, making her a household name. Born in 1954 in Monroe, Michigan, Brinkley moved around frequently due to her father's career, which at times intersected with social circles containing members of the LDS Church. Rumors about her involvement with Mormonism persist, albeit with varying degrees of substantiation. Whatever her exact relationship with the faith, Brinkley rose to international fame as a model, particularly through her groundbreaking appearances in the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Her wholesome image helped her transition into acting roles, television appearances, and business ventures. She radiated a positivity that fans found contagious, even as she navigated the pitfalls of a highly public personal life, including multiple marriages. For Brinkley, the question of faith remains personal. She has occasionally referenced spiritual practices, emphasizing gratitude, wellness, and a connection with nature. She has also been actively involved in philanthropic initiatives, from animal rights to children's hospitals, reflecting a moral commitment to helping others thrive. 24th, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl made her mark in Hollywood with her role as Dr. Izzy Stevens on Grey's Anatomy, followed by a series of romantic comedies like 27 Dresses and The Ugly Truth. Born in 1978 in Washington, D.C., Heigl was raised in a Mormon household after her family converted when she was a child. While the conversion was prompted by personal tragedy, the death of her older brother, the LDS faith offered solace and structure during a tumultuous time. As Heigl's acting career took off, The tension between her religious upbringing and the racy roles Hollywood sometimes demanded grew more pronounced. Yet her outspokenness, for better or worse, became part of her brand. She famously criticized certain storylines and scripts she felt were exploitative or trivializing. Industry insiders often debated whether this stemmed from a faith-based moral stance or simple personal conviction. Perhaps it was both. Heigl has mentioned that her Mormon background instilled in her a sense of empathy and community-mindedness. She's been active in numerous charitable endeavors, including animal welfare. Yet, she has also acknowledged struggles with fully adhering to LDS standards, especially once immersed in the entertainment industry's fast pace. Despite these challenges, Heigl's commitment to family life, marrying musician Josh Kelly, and adopting children. 25th, Gloria Estefan. Gloria Estefan, the Cuban-American songstress who became a global superstar with hits like Conga and Rhythm Is Gonna Get You, is not typically associated with Mormonism in mainstream discourse. Born in 1957 in Havana, Cuba, Estefan grew up in a devout Catholic family after immigrating to the United States. However, there have been sporadic reports linking her extended family to LDS circles, though these connections remain largely unverified or anecdotal. What is beyond dispute is Estefan's dedication to faith, family, and cultural heritage. She has navigated a decades-long career that saw her rise to the pinnacle of pop and Latin music. Even after a near-fatal tour bus accident in 1990 threatened to end her career, Estefan recovered through sheer determination, crediting her resilience to prayer, family support, and a deep sense of gratitude for life's blessings. Estefan's philanthropic endeavors further echo the values of service that resonate across many faiths, including the LDS Church. She has supported organizations focused on spinal cord research, disaster relief, and children's health, often citing her personal experiences as motivation. The synergy between her public persona as the Queen of Latin Pop and her behind-the-scenes humanitarian work suggests a harmonious blend of star power and altruism.